What's up, guys? We're back with another Masters of the Universe Masterverse Revelation figure, taking a look at the recent exclusive that came wasn't too long ago, and it's finally starting to show up at folks' doorsteps. And we're taking a look today at Scareglow, which, I don't know, one of the breakaway characters from the show. I mean, played by the one and only Tony Todd. I'm a huge fan of Scareglow as a character, and I thought he was just awesome in the show. I was really excited to finally see that happen, and I've been really excited about this particular figure. So we get this guy in kind of, you know, a little bit of a more premium packaging. There is going to be a retail version, so this guy has very exclusive packaging. The first of which is an outer mailer box, so you've got some kind of black and white artwork of Scareglow here on the front, and then the back has this really big sort of mini comic style spread of Scareglow standing on a bed of skulls, which is really cool. So I dig this kind of stuff. I mean, it adds to the premium factor, but the actual box itself is even more premium, of course. So you've got this sort of like half slipcover that sits over top of the box. You've got Scareglow's head there. It's kind of like a spellbook motif. You've got Scareglow's name on the front, a bunch of runes etched on the front and the back, and then of course it's got like more of those runes and kind of like a jewel on the back, all of which has his sort of green color scheme. Now, to add on to that, this, like I said, is a slipcover, so you can pull this guy off, take it off the top, and the figure is visible inside the packaging. So if you don't want to take this guy out, he is in very collector-friendly packaging here. He's also visible from the back, but he's got a cape, so of course he's a little bit obscured. But the box art and everything about the presentation on this is really fantastic. I almost don't want to take him out, but he does seem to be pretty easy to put back in. And then of course, when you pop it open, there are lights on the inside of here, kind of up in there and in the side here, that will kind of illuminate Scareglow and kind of play off the glowing factor of him here. So you've got a little button down here at the bottom, and that will turn it on, and then it stays on for a little bit, and then it will just sort of fade out. So I really like that. Again, if you keep him in the box, there's a lot of display factor just on its own, but this is a figure that I really want. So of course, we got to pull him out. So let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Revelation Masterverse Scareglow, the exclusive version, of course. And right out of the gate, I feel like it's worth mentioning that I am, and have been, a very big Scareglow fan for a very long time. He's a skeleton. I mean, what's not to like? He glows in the dark. There's a lot of cool stuff going on with his character. And one thing I have desperately wanted to see is his portrayal in the show. And not only did we get that in the Revelation show, but he was voiced by Tony Todd. So the Candyman was Scareglow, and frankly was one of the greatest Masters moments I think has ever been captured on screen. So this figure was of course one that I was just dying to get a hold of, because not only do I like the idea of a glow-in-the-dark skeleton, but it's backed up by a really cool portrayal in the new show. So I was already really interested. And I've had pretty good luck with the Masterverse figures so far. You know, they're not all home runs in that first wave, but I've been enjoying them. But to get this guy in an exclusive format so early on was definitely really cool. Obviously, I know that he was very difficult for a lot of folks to get a hold of. That is not lost on me, but I think for the folks that do get him, and then of course we know we're getting a retail version, I think people are going to be excited about this. I don't know what's different between this one and the retail version. If I had to guess, just based on what we've seen with Wave 1, I would wager that his cape is not going to be wired in the retail version, since the other capes so far have not been wired. So I don't know, we'll know when we know. But there is a lot of cool stuff going on with this guy. There are a few things that I'm not the happiest with, but overall this is a really cool set, especially for 35 bucks. It's a pretty deluxe set. That just adds on to our retail figure. So let's see what he can do, see how he moves around. He's going to be very familiar territory if you've messed with Wave 1. There's a lot of parts for use here. So we've got a head that can not look up very far, actually. He can only slightly look up. He looks down really good, though. You've got a little bit of tilt, and then of course you've got full rotation. Arms go out at the shoulders. They rotate all the way around. You do have to watch the cape, but it's, you know, it's a cloth piece, so it's going to move. You've got your bicep swivel. We've got our double jointed elbows, and they are pinless on these guys, which is nice from an aesthetic standpoint. It doesn't really do a whole lot for movement because he's got these massive biceps, though. You've got rotation
hinges at the wrist there, and then we've got our diaphragm cut. So just like Skeletor, just like He-Man have, it's the same buck as far as I can tell. So side to side, backwards, forwards, and then that's your midpoint of rotation. And then he's also got a full waist twist there as well. Legs go out about this far. He does have a rubber skirt piece, but it does have slits along the side, so it does help. He doesn't go all the way out, but it does help. And then, of course, he goes about this far forward. Of course, that is going to get in the way there. He goes backwards a little bit as well. There is a thigh twist up there, so you can twist that thigh. We do have our double jointed knees. The skirt piece does kind of get in the way. Let's move that hand. So he goes back about that far. And then we've got boot cut down here for some rotation there, and then you've got rocker at the ankles, but he does have these kind of points on the side of the boots that kind of stop your rocker pretty quick. So it's not the best, but it does have a little bit. And then hinge up and down is pretty nice otherwise. So he's very similar to He-Man and Skeletor. If you've messed with either one of those, you basically know what's going on here. Not a whole lot of difference between those guys, which kind of makes sense. Of course, there's going to be a lot of parts reuse here. You can tell that it's the same torso as He-Man and Skeletor and all that because he's got sort of that weird texture thing going on. But otherwise, he does move pretty well. No real issues to speak of. He is just a little bit limited around the hip area just because of why you would expect. He's got a big, thick rubber skirt down there. Now, aesthetically, this guy is, of course, a little bit different because he's black and green. He's not like a bone color that has black on him. He is black and green. So the bone accents are really different. The head is really different here. You saw him in the teasers and the trailers, and I got super pumped just to finally see this guy in action. It's a weird neon green sort of ethereal sort of skeleton. It's a departure, but it's not a big deal for me. I think it looks pretty cool, actually. And for the most part, the paint job here is pretty well done. I have maybe one kind of flub right here, kind of hide a bit of the cape, which I'll talk about here in a minute. You've got these metallic bracers, slightly metallic belt. It's not as metallic as the bracers. You've got his loincloth, which of course is kind of like the rubber skirt piece. And then he's got these big honking boots down here, which have a little bit of a metallic sheen to them, kind of in line with the belt. He does have some interesting stuff going on with his hands because these are actually translucent. So this is translucent plastic, which is sort of like a smoky color, which kind of stands out from the rest of the figure if you catch it in the right light. So like I can see my finger through his finger here, and he does have asymmetrical hands out of the box. He's got like the same kind of hands that Skeletor. A soft goods cape, and like we saw with the other stuff in Wave 1, that's the norm. So he's got a soft goods cape, but he has a wired cape. And for the most part, I'm happy with it. There is sort of a little bit of an oddity with, at least to me, in terms of how it sits on him, which I'm not the happiest with, but overall, it's not exactly posing a problem. That's where this comes in to sort of lock it down a bit, but it's not perfect, and it's not a catch-all to make sure that it's going to always stay in place. So you're going to have to pay attention to that. And not only that, it has this ridiculous, humongous tag on here with like washing instructions. Who's going to put this in a washing machine? So make sure you only surface wash it, so don't put it in a washing machine or anything like that. I'm assuming this is some sort of regulatory issue with Mattel, but this seems egregious almost. That's weird. I want to cut that off, but of course, will it ever be mint again? You know, who knows. But I do like the cape. I kind of wish this had a wire that ran through it to just sort of cinch it down around his neck a little bit more. But again, it's kind of a nitpicky thing at that. Otherwise, though, you know, you can throw the collar on him, and then you can just get that cape to flare out. And it does look really, really cool. Like, I am super happy that he has the wired cape, because that's one of the things that, once it was all said and done with Wave 1, that I really think was missing. Like, I really want to replace Skeletor and Skelegod's capes with a wired cape, because this does work really well. I'm glad Mattel decided to do this, because it does make this one feel a little bit more deluxe, assuming I'm right in that the retail isn't going to have it, because none of the other ones do. So he would be the odd man out. But it's a nice looking piece. You know, it's frayed all around the edges. It still feels like the same kind of material that Skeletor's is, but of course that wire just adds a little bit more oomph to it, and I'm very happy that it's there. And then lastly, of course, you do have your head sculpt here, which is, I mean, it's a skeleton head with a little bit of paint on it. He's got those sort of blood red eyes. He's got the crack that runs down the back of the head. And overall, he just looks super menacing and super evil. And I think it looks really good. Sculpt is nice. There's not a lot of paint, but it's exactly where it's needed to bring out the recesses in the bones, in the mouth, and then, of course, some black in the eyes and the nose. Now, he does glow. And this is one area, like I said, there's a few things that I'm not the happiest with, and this is one of those areas. Because he doesn't glow, well, he doesn't glow a lot. For a character named Scareglow, he really doesn't glow very much. So all you really get with this guy is a glowing head, which is definitely a departure from every other Scareglow when you think about it. It does look really good. The green definitely works as far as him being a green glowing skeleton, and it very much plays up a lot of the emphasis on what's vibrant and bright about him in the show, but at the same time, you kind of want the whole thing to glow, right? So of course you can hit him with some blacklight, and it does kind of change things up a little bit. He will sort of illuminate a little bit more. You'll get all of the paint on him will sort of glow at the same time, but it's not exactly the same. So what you really want, of course, is the whole figure to glow and not just you know, the head. So maybe something a little more like that when a little bit of blacklight hits that fluorescent paint. So maybe not the greatest interpretation of a glowing character in figure form, but I do think they really nailed the glow on the head. It is very bright and very bright. I mean, you can see it sort of illuminating the collar around him. It's really bright, and it does stay for at least a little while. Now, as far as accessories goes, Scareglow is not overwhelmingly stacked, but he does have a pretty cool spread of items here. And a couple of them are, well, they're pretty important. One is very important specifically to Scareglow in general, of course being his staff, his halberd, his spear weapon. This guy does not glow in the dark. It is just what you see is what you get. It does react to blacklight. The paint on the blade does react like the paint on the figure itself. But that's about it. He holds it well, despite the fact that he only has the sort of booger picking finger here for his right. He holds it single-handedly on the right and the left pretty well, and of course double-handed works fine also. So this is really good. It's huge. Of course, very much a Scareglow thing. It's a green staff with the blade on it. It just unfortunately doesn't glow. He does come with some extra hands, basically the same stuff Skeletor came with. So he's got a right fist, and then you've got this sort of left, like, handshaking hand, or whatever this one's really supposed to be. Spellcasting hand, something like that. So you've got those. These are also translucent as well, similar to what he comes with in the box. And then the last thing he comes with is maybe the one thing that might not be included in a retail release. Like, I could see this being left out to make this one more deluxe. Of course, time will tell on that. I'm either going to be right or I'm just going to look foolish after the fact. So we get this guy here. And of course, you know, this is very much from the show. So the splitting of the sword into the two halves. So you've got the purple, you've got the yellow, and I've already got it backwards here. So you can, which you may or may not have noticed, I kind of found out by accident while messing around with what does and doesn't glow on this guy. So it pegs together. There's a peg on the left, or on the yellow one, and then there's a hole on the right, which is a little unfortunate because you're going to see it if you do split them, but of course it does keep it very sturdy when it's all supposed to be in one piece, and I put it backwards again. So you've got it right there, and then you've got this humongous, like almost like New Adventure style laser sword, really. So this one's actually pretty cool. It's really different. I like it. I don't know how I'm ever going to use it or if I'm going to use it, but it's a cool little accessory, and of course a very big nod towards what does occur in the show. So yeah, overall, I really like this guy. I know he sold out really fast, and he's an exclusive, and not everybody got him, but I really think he's a solid figure. And if the retail version is just this guy with maybe without a wired cape, maybe without the broken sword, I think it's going to be a really, really solid entry, and people are probably not going to be too concerned about it anymore. The biggest deluxe thing for me in this box comes down to the wire in the cape, because it elevates a figure in general. A wired soft goods cape is always better than any other alternative. And of course the box, the lights in there, the overall presentation, you know, looking like a book of spells. It's all very deluxe, and it makes him feel a lot more premium, especially when you can just put him right back in and he displays really, really well inside of that thing. But the figure itself, of course, is really great. I do wish that more on him glowed, and I wish that maybe that cape did not sit the way it does. I wish it had some sort of other wire around that collar, but it's not a big deal. A lot of that is kind of nitpicky stuff, and frankly, I don't sit in the dark staring at my figures glowing anyway. So he looks really cool when he's just in the light. So that's going to do it for this look at the Masters of the Universe Revelation Masterverse Scareglow. Let me know what you guys think.
Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.